And we are live. Hey everyone, it's Nick Nino, and welcome back to the 17th episode of the FilmBrony Podcast. And oh boy, we got a lot of stuff to do today. We're back with another episode, and we're about to talk about movie-related topics and other things. So, and as always, I'm not here alone. I got my friends with me, including one who started this whole podcast. So, friends, would you like to introduce yourselves?
My name is Christian Frades. I'm an aspiring autistic voice actor, and I like being a part of this podcast.
And I'm Soren the FilmBrony. I do a lot of videos on my channel, including quick movie reviews, some old YTPs, some shit posts. But mostly I'm a movie guy myself.
Yeah, and it's great to see to see you all again. Especially great to see you back again here, Christian.
Thanks.
Especially since we couldn't do the, especially since you couldn't make it to the last one due to like the due to some scheduling conflicts. But now you're here, and now we're ready to get started with the whole show. And a big hello to Network 98 and Taco Bell. Thank you, Taco Bell. Big hello to these guys. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining us for the show. And yeah, why don't we get started?
Well, as always, I like to start with a ton of Blu-ray pickups, and I do have a ton of them, especially with the Prime Day sale at Amazon. So let's get started. First up is Akira.
Nice.
That's a classic.
Next, I have this MGM award winners box set. It includes Thelma and Louise, Midnight Cowboy, Raging Bull, Leaving Las Vegas, In the Heat of the Night, Rain Man, Dead Men Walking, Dances with Wolves, and Rocky.
Nice.
Best years of our lives.
Nice. Hello, Jose. Welcome to the podcast. Bridesmaids is a great one.
Jose. Chocolat
is good.
Crimson Tide.
Nice.
Cure for Wellness, one of the most underrated films of the last decade.
Nice.
Ever After, A Cinderella Story.
Nice.
La Femme and Nikita, one of Luc Besson's earlier movies.
And one of his best.
Mm-hmm. Next, I have this Frank Darabont box set. It includes The Green Mile, The Shawshank Redemption, and The Majestic.
Hello, Nicholas Lee. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Nicholas Lee. Next, I have Ghost in the Shell, the original, in this pretty nice steelbook.
My pal Richard Epcar voiced Bateau in it.
Nice.
Next, I have the spiritual predecessor to Uncut Gems, and that is Good Time.
Good Time is a great movie. I also own that.
The Heat.
The Heat is really good.
Next, I have Twilight Done Right, and that is Let the Right One In.
Yep.
The Lost Weekend. Mississippi Burning. Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. News of the World, one of the best from last year.
Absolutely. That was a great movie.
Pleasantville.
A classic.
Promising Young Woman.
Also one of the best from last year. And I also own that.
The Ray Double Feature.
Nice.
Sophie's Choice.
Nice.
Spy.
Nice. That's a great movie.
Tom Cruise box set. It includes Top Gun, Collateral, Minority Report, War of the Worlds, and Days of Thunder. World War Z. And last but probably least, Wonder Woman 1984. I do like the movie, but it is really flawed.
Yeah. It's just Wonder Woman 1984 was a good movie, but compared to the last one, it was a bit of a disappointment.
And
But hey, at least Linda Carter did a good cameo.
She did.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just to answer Nicholas Lee's question in the chat, mine would have to be Disaster Movie. Such a horrible film.
Oh my God, Disaster Movie.
Anyways,
well, mine would be Shades trilogy. You guys know how much I hated these movies.
now I do have one more Blu-ray, but that's for a movie review. Anyways, onto a crap ton of current movie reviews, starting with A Quiet Place Part 2.
That's a great one.
It is a great movie, and that's where I'll be joining Soren on this one because I also saw the movie too last month.
Seems that John Krasinski has made lightning strike twice with this sequel, which is as his exceptional direction seems to shine to make an effectively tense and thrilling film that's just as good as his predecessor. It's no wonder it's causing the summer movie season to come back. So I'm giving it a 10 out of 10.
I really love this movie too. Usually I complain about jump scares in horror films that are done just for the sake of it. But here, the jump scares in A Quiet Place Part 2 had a purpose. It had a purpose at being there because it built a lot of tension to it. And that's what worked about A Quiet Place Part 2 with the scares. I really love this movie so much. And John Krasinski did a wonderful job with the movie. It's very well acted. The tension's there. It's very well shot. And overall, and I found the story to be compelling and intriguing throughout. And overall, it's easily one of my favorite films I've seen this year so far. 9.5 out of 10.
Next, I have one of the biggest surprises of the year and one of my favorite movies of the year so far, Cruella.
That's, oh my God! You know, when I saw the trailer for Cruella, I thought it looked really stupid. I thought there's no way it's gonna work. But then the reviews came out, and I was like, I got curious to check this one out, and then I saw the whole film. My God, I'm actually surprised with how much I liked it. I really liked this one.
Well, you can't go wrong with Emma Stone, that's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. She was terrific.
Yeah, this is hands down the best of Disney's live-action reimaginings we've gotten to date.
Next to The Jungle Book.
That's a close second, but Greg Gillespie, the director of I, Tonya, really went above and beyond with a production value, soundtrack, and excellent acting, making for pretty much a family version of Joker. And for those who get against these Disney remakes, you should check out this one and see if it can change your mind. 10 out of 10 for me.
I wouldn't go that far, but it is a very good film. My only problems I did have with the film is that I did feel the film was a bit too long. It does suffer through a couple pacing issues here and there, and I do think some of the writing could although not terrible, could have used some more work, especially with some of the scenes that go absolutely nowhere. But that's really it. I really enjoyed this movie a lot, and Emma Stone is really good in the film. This is one of her better performances as Cruella. But it's Emma Thompson that really stole the show. She's menacing, and yet her character is so menacing, but yet the performance she gave out was just nothing short of amazing. And that's what I loved about Emma Thompson in the film. Oh yeah, F9. Well, I haven't seen it yet, but we will be bringing it up next time on the next show. So
I haven't seen. I'll have to see the previous 9 Fast and Furious movies before I see F9.
Yeah. Yeah. Overall, Cruella was a nice surprise, and I mean, as someone that couldn't stand like the recent live action remakes of like Aladdin, Mulan, and the most infamous blunder, The Lion King, this was actually a nice change of pace for once for Disney to do something like this. It's not one of the best I've seen this year, but it is a very good film. 8 out of 10.
Nice. Now, my next movie is In the Heights.
I got a lot to talk about with this film because,
This was a fun as hell musical with some of the best musical numbers of recent memory, great characters, and spectacular visuals, which is a shame that it's taken a beating at the box office, especially compared to, we'll get to that later. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, we'll get to those sequel abominations in a little bit, but guys, I can't remember the last time a movie like In the Heights made me feel this good. I mean, not only is it one of the best musicals I've ever seen, I mean, there's going to be more musicals coming out later this year, such as the West Side Story remake and Dear Evan Hansen, which I'm really looking forward to seeing both of those films. But as of right now, In the Heights is my favorite film I've seen this year so far. It was exhilarating, it was entertaining, and I know it's a cliche to say it is, but I don't give a shit. It's one of the best feel-good movies I've ever seen. The musical numbers are fantastically done, and so are the dance, and so is the dancing in the film, since they feel very well choreographed. The story was fantastic. The script was great. The directing was fantastic. John M. Chu, between this and Crazy Rich Asians, I cannot wait to see what you do next. I mean, from the guy that made like two Justin Bieber documentaries and the infamous Gemini Holograms, I'm really glad he redeemed himself with like this and Crazy Rich Asians. So, and it makes me look forward to seeing what he does next too.
Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber, you go and do something like this and totally redeem yourself.
Yeah. Oh man, that was funny. Yeah, the acting is great. The actor that played the main character in the film, let me look this up really quick. Nick Lee had a question. What do you think of 2010's pop music? I'm not a fan. Sorry. All right. There we go. Anthony Ramos. He was terrific in this movie, and so are the other performers, such as Melissa Beria, Leslie Grace, Corey Hawkins. But it's Olga Merides. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm sorry if I butchered the name, but she plays Abiella in the film, and oh my God, what a performance! What a performance she gave out. Oh yeah, he also directed G.I. Joe Retaliation, Now You See Me Too, which I wasn't a big fan of those films. I didn't like
Now
both
You See Me
films.
Too. Now You See Me Too was decent. Haven't seen G.I. Joe.
I thought it was better than Rise of Cobra.
Makes sense. That's good. Overall, I'm really sad that this is bombing at the box office because this is one of those movies that you don't see a lot. You don't see a lot in films anymore, and that's what I really loved about In the Heights, and why I'm really disappointed that not a lot of people are seeing this movie. And guys, if you have not seen In the Heights, please go on and see this movie as soon as you can. After the podcast is over, make that date right now. Go out and see In the Heights as soon as you can. It's an original and very unique musical movie that deserves a lot of attention. And I cannot help but just praise this movie enough for being this entertaining and this exhilarating. I absolutely love this movie. It is so far my favorite movie I've seen in 2021 so far. Originally, it was Judas. It was going to be Judas and the Black Messiah, but now this is my number one film of 2021 so far. And it absolutely deserves my second 10 out of 10.
Nice. Anyways, my next movie is Guy Ritchie's latest film.
Please go see it as soon as you can. So please go see In the Heights as soon as you can. It is one of the best movies. It is easily one of the best movies of the year so far.
It is. Anyways, as for my next movie review, is Guy Ritchie's latest film, Wrath of Man. And it
was really good.
And this is coming from someone who's seen only 3 of his movies, this, The Gentleman, and Aladdin, but I think this might be the least Guy Ritchie-est movie of his career, and one of the most underappreciated, too. Jason Statham delivers a gripping performance as this mysterious gun-wielding truck driver. The action is well shot and choreographed, and even the musical score deserves more praise. You should definitely seek this one out. I'm giving this one a 10 out of 10 as well.
All right. Well, my quick thoughts on the film. While it's not one of the best movies I've seen this year, it is a very good movie. It is a very good movie that Guy Ritchie did, and I mean the first half of the film, something that you're like, but then the second half of the film, has these reveals that you just saw in the first scene, and you're like, that makes sense. The way they do these twists and turns and the reveals in the film, that was very well done. And I originally gave this a 7 out of 10, but then the more I thought about this movie, the more I really liked it. So so much more. So yeah, it also deserves an 8 out of 10. The only problems I did have with the film is that it does suffer through a couple pacing issues in the middle, and it does go for those cliches that we've seen in other films before, and the script I felt could have been well more written, especially with some of the supporting characters being underdeveloped. But that's really it. It was a very good movie. It was very entertaining, and Guy Ritchie really made another good one. Good job there, man.
All right, so as for my next movie review is Taylor Sheridan's latest, Those Who Wish Me Dead, which
I also saw.
I was really looking forward to this movie, seeing that this is Taylor Sheridan from, the guy behind Sicario, Hell or High Water, Wind River. But then the reviews came and kind of lessened my interest. But after seeing this, I actually really like this one. Sheridan proves once again to be one of the best writers working today, and the acting from Angelina Jolie and Finn Little are solid. I will say that the villains could use a bit more development, but that's pretty much it. This is another one of the most underappreciated films of the year, and I'm giving it a 9.
Okay, well, here's my thoughts on the film. I do think this is my least favorite of Taylor Sheridan's movies he's done. I have not seen Without Remorse, even though I don't have any interest in seeing it. I mean, from the films the first two, Sicario, Hell or High Water, Wind River, and Sicario. And you know what? Sicario Day de Soldado, which I found really underrated. I felt this is my least favorite of his movies that he's done. And I get what he was trying to do. He was trying to bring back the 90s thriller movies, which is not a bad idea at all. I mean, it is very well made and it's very well put. But I did wish the script could have been a lot better, especially with not only the character development but also the villains as well. I mean, there is tension in the film, and it's very well. And I did find the story interesting, and it's very well directed and well acted. But I did wish that this movie could have been a lot better, especially with its pacing and its messy writing and other things. But overall, I still like this movie. Despite it being my least favorite. It's still a good movie, and I still recommend it. 7 out of 10.
Speaking of action movies, my next movie is Nobody. After a slow start, this movie really kicks into high gear with its solid cast, thrilling and violent action, and its great soundtrack. So it's a pretty good action film, which I'm giving an 8 out of 10.
I also give it an 8 out of 10 too. I saw Nobody a few months. I saw Nobody last month, and it was a really good action movie too. Especially with Bob Odenkirk, he is absolutely terrific in this movie. he stole the show for sure. And while the film does suffer through some cliches, especially since we have seen this done in like John Wick, and while it does suffer through a couple pacing issues and at the beginning, and that's really it. Everything else was just a fun experience all around, and I also give it an 8 out of 10.
Nice. Now, I did see Pixar's Luca, and I was going to review it here, but I'll just save it for the next episode since Nick hasn't seen it yet.
Right.
As for my next movie, is now we're getting to the mediocre stuff, aren't we? My next movie review is the Russo brothers' latest film, Cherry.
I didn't see Cherry, but I haven't heard good things about it, so sorry.
This was a humongous letdown. Tom Holland tries his best, but it's apparent that he's way too young to play like this tortured army vet forced into a world of drug addiction and crime. And the directional choices that the Russos make with this movie range from kind of invented to straight up pretentious. And it's such a shame, too. So I'm sad to give it a 5 out of 10. Next I have the latest version of Mortal Kombat. And
which I also saw.
And I gotta say, this is yet another stain in the franchise's branch to the big screen. I mean, it is way better than Mortal Kombat Annihilation because anything's better than that fucking movie.
Yeah, really.
Despite some fun action and actually getting to see the bloody and gory fatalities the games are known for, instead of just playing it so safe it's not even funny, I felt the writing and characters aren't that great. The effects look kind of cheap. Plus, the movie's called Mortal Kombat, as in the Mortal Kombat tournament, but this feels more like a trailer for the next movie about the tournament, which, given the reception, seems highly unlikely. So yeah, another disappointing as hell movie, 4 out of 10.
And
All right,
I liked Kano and Cabal in that.
Yeah, Kano was really good. The actor that played Kano easily stole the show.
Yes, not to mention he was played by an actual Australian.
Yes. My final thoughts on the film. I don't think this is as mediocre as like Soren says it is. I don't think it's as mediocre as Soren says it is. I thought it was decent. I mean the action is very well done. It's very well directed, and the acting is decent. And I did like the musical score and the cinematography, but I do agree with Soren that the biggest problem with the film is that the characters aren't.
Yeah, one particular moment reminded me of this Sly Cooper meme I made where Sly Cooper reacts to what Scorpion was trying to say.
I have no idea what you're saying. And your suit sucks.
Oh my god. Yeah, Mortal Kombat. Like I said, there are some great things in there. And I mean, I didn't think it was as mediocre as like Soren puts it out, but I do agree it really could have been a lot better. And the script was a mess. The characters minus Kano are just, and especially the main character who we follow in the film, he is so weak.
They should have brought in Johnny Cage instead of Cole Young.
Yeah, I was gonna say Johnny Cage was right there. I mean, it could have been worse. They could have just killed him off in the first 5 minutes. Cough, annihilation, cough.
Yeah, we're not gonna mention that piece of shit. But yeah, just this movie was just this movie I thought was fine. It's fans will love it. Other people on the other hand will just like for something else to enjoy. I mean, I thought it was decent. I do agree with Soren that I do wish it could have been a lot better. And also the ending was a bit on the nose too. So my final rating, 6 out of 10.
Next is Voyagers.
Oh God.
Lord of Light in Space sounds like one of the coolest and most thought-provoking sci-fi films in recent memory. So how can it not be? Well, according to this movie, it's pretty easy. Just not be interesting after the first 5 minutes, not have anything happen until the 30-minute mark, rip off other movies like Alien, The Ending of Passengers, and Equilibrium, and all while delivering wonderful performances from everyone, blending in uninteresting characters, as well as editing and camera work, which can become obnoxious at times. Decent visuals and music doesn't help. So just skip this one. 4 out of 10.
Yeah, I found this movie to be really mediocre as well. I mean, like, how could you waste a premise like this and just make it into like something that we've seen in other films before? This one really hurts, especially since they had a lot of potential with this premise, but they didn't even know what to do with it, and ended up ripping up a lot of elements from other movies, including, as Soren mentioned, Alien. Most of the acting is fine. Colin Farrell, Lily Rose Depp, and Ty Sheridan are like the biggest highlights with the acting in the film, and the musical score is decent, and the cinematography is fantastic, and the visuals are very good. But the rest of the movie was a mediocre mess. And Fionn Whiteheart, no, Nick. Chatting on PS4 I don't think is a bad idea at all. So, anyway, what I was saying? Where was I? Oh yeah. As much as I love Fionn Whitehead. He was fantastic in one of my favorite films of 2017, Dunkirk. But in here, oh my God, I could not stand him in this movie. I mean, it's not just because the performance was bad, but it's not just because he gives out one of the worst performances I've seen this year so far. It's because of the fact that his character is an unlikable dickbag. Especially when you could see what he revealed, especially when you could see the reveal of what he did to Colin Farrell's character coming from a mile away. It's just, yeah. I knew when Fionn Whitehead was like doing something awful in the film, I knew he was going to be the villain in the film, and sure enough, I was right. Yeah, this movie really could have been something so much better. Like, it could have been like Lord of the Flies, especially with its like, especially with the kids, like with the people living in the shuttle and the shuttle space where it involves like plants growing. But this really could have been a lot better, and it is really disappointing. This is probably my most disappointing film of the year so far, and that's a shame because it did have a lot of potential, but its execution was just very underwhelming. 4 out of 10.
Okay, let me just. All right, there we go. So, all right. So, what's the next movie? We're going to these movies, huh?
Yep.
We are going to. We're going to these shitty sequels, aren't we?
Yep. These shitty sequels that made more money than In the Heights.
So the first of these sequels. So the first Hitman's Bodyguard was nothing special, but it was a fun ride with Ryan Reynolds hamming it up and Sam Jackson motherfucking it up. You know what? It seemed like a throwaway one and done deal until Lionsgate decided that a sequel was necessary. One that clearly shows its necessity, or in this case, lack thereof. So let's go over my positives, shall we? Ryan Reynolds was entertaining. Antonio Banderas was pretty good. Morgan Freeman was good. There were some fun action set pieces. Anyways, on to the negatives. Unlike the last movie where Sam Jackson and Selma Hayek were endearing as the hitman and his wife, this time the writers made them super annoying that it made it hard for me to get through this movie. Seriously, I haven't been this annoyed with Selma Hayek since she played that offensive Mexican taco in Garbage Party. Sorry, Nick. Plus, the script was pretty bad as well, with not just a bunch of predictable jokes, but some of the most laughable plot points of the year, including the opening where Ryan is haunted by Sam Jackson's character, and this lazy plot point involving gelato. Seriously, who wrote this script?
Oh my god!
So if you're a fan of this movie and want to see more of Sam and Ryan's adventures, just watch the first movie again, because you might just be annoyed by the sequel's direction. Skip this one. 3 out of 10.
Okay, so Eddie, we will talk about another sequel in a bit, but I don't know where to begin with this.
Hopefully somebody could make a supercut of Morgan Freeman's scenes alone.
Yeah, really. Look, I wasn't a fan of the first Hitman's Bodyguard. I mean, there are some good things in it, like Morgan Freeman. Samuel L. Jackson, Ryan Reynolds, and Salma Hayek, like being the best things in the film, and there are some humorous moments here, and there are some humorous and memorable moments here and there. But I thought it was just a mediocre action film. But because the first one made a lot of money, yes, a sequel was about to happen, and I went into this movie with low expectations, but I do love Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson, and Salma Hayek, and I got really intrigued when I saw that Morgan Freeman and Antonio Banderas were in the film. So I went into this movie with an open mind. Folks, this is one of the lousiest and most idiotic movies I've seen this year so far. It's a movie that took away some of the charm that made the first movie somewhat work, and just completely shit all over everything in the sequel. Like, it's just, what were the director and the writers of this movie thinking with this one? Now, I will say this. The only redeeming thing in the film is that Morgan Freeman and Morgan Freeman and Antonio Banderas were the only good things in the film. Everything else fucking sucked. Oh my god. The story was nothing but a muddled mess since it goes absolutely nowhere. The script is easily one of the year's very worst since it features the tone that comes up as being inconsistent, where it can't even decide if it wants to be an action movie or a comedy movie. You could do an action comedy, but you got to pick one for some of the things. And the characters being not only paper thin but poorly developed, but also one-dimensional and annoying, bumbling idiots. It's also poorly directed, and since it's also nothing but a muddled mess, and you can't even tell what he was trying to go for, what direction he was trying to go for, and the action sequences. I'm sorry, I was very underwhelmed by the action sequences. Yeah, they're well choreographed, but I was very underwhelmed due to two main glaring issues I have with the film. One being the cinematography, which is one of the worst I've seen put to film this year so far. It's nothing but a shaky mess. And the other issue was the editing. It's so poorly edited to the point where you can't even tell what the hell is going on, especially with some of the action sequences. The rest of the acting was terrible. It wasted the talents of Frank Grillo and Richard E. Grant. Also, as Soren mentioned, Ryan Reynolds does try his best, but his talent is horribly wasted in such a garbage script. And since his character is nothing but a weak idiot. And I love Samuel L. Jackson and Salma Hayek, but I was very, very disappointed in the performances, and I'll explain why. In the first movie, I'll explain why. In the first movie, Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson had good chemistry in the film, and they both delivered some very good performances too because of how much charm they had. Like Ryan Reynolds, Samuel L. Jackson, and Salma Hayek had. But in the sequel, take away all the charm they had in the first movie and just make them into nothing but one-dimensional, annoying, bumbling idiots. That's how I would describe their performance, the characters that they play in a nutshell. And I think I mentioned some. I did mention Salma Hayek, and I also forgot to mention this though. She was the worst thing in the film. I'm sorry. I love Salma Hayek, but she was so annoying. Yes, in the first movie, she was annoying, but she had a purpose at being there. She had a purpose at being that, at being over the top. Here, though, there's a difference between being annoying but with a purpose and just being annoying just for the sake of comedy. And she sadly falls into that category. It's just, and because of that, there's no chemistry between the three whatsoever. There's no chemistry. The soundtrack is terrible. The soundtrack's a muddled mess. Not to mention, this was one of the hardest movies I've ever had to sit through this year so far. For a 95-minute film, it felt like 2.5 hours long due to how poorly paced the film is. And it is also filled with cliches that we've seen in other movies before, and they do nothing new with its story.
And as my review for the Daredevil theatrical cut on how bad it is, I made this mashup.
That was so terrible, I think you gave me cancer.
That's how I would describe my experience with Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard.
And honestly, and to respond to Nicholas Lee in the chat, is Selma worse here than in Wild Wild West? Wild Wild West to me is my ultimate guilty pleasure.
I didn't like her in Wild Wild West, but she was even more annoying here than she was in Wild Wild West. So yeah, it is her worst. I was going as far to say this is her worst performance. It's just, look, I love Salma Hayek, but this performance she gave out in the film was just terrible. And like I said, before you say anything in the comments, like I said before, yes, I get she's supposed to be annoying, but there's a fine line between being annoying but having a purpose and charm, like I said before, and just being annoying just for the sake of it. That's what she falls into. The latter of being annoying just for the sake of it. And it is really, really unfunny. And speaking of the comedy, I did not laugh once throughout the whole film. All the jokes fall very flat on their faces. And remember when I mentioned the script earlier and how messy it is with its characters? The fact that... Oh my God. And Meadowland Fan 2004. Yeah, Salma Hayek was really good in Beatrice at Dinner. She was fantastic in that film. But you were saying?
I was gonna say that I hated Salma Hayek in Sausage Party. Sorry, Nick, but her performance here makes that her performance is even more. I hate her performance in this movie. I hate her even more so.
Yeah, it's just, look, I know you didn't like her performance in that in Sausage Party, but she at least had a purpose at being like that. She had a purpose because she was playing an animated character, an animated taco character, I should say. again, not to sound derogatory.
No worries.
Not to sound derogatory. But Soren mentioned this, and okay, this subplot annoyed the shit out of me because I know it seems like I'm going on for too long with these rants, but it's just I gotta talk about this one because this subplot annoyed the shit out of me. So in this one scene where they're about to, where we see all the 5 characters played by Ryan Reynolds, Samuel L. Jackson, actually 4. Salma Hayek and Morgan Freeman all having some ice cream, I think. We see the gelato thing, and it triggers like, and then for one thing, it triggers like Ryan Reynolds' character's memory because it reminded him, get ready for one of the dumbest things I have. Get ready for one of the dumbest things. One of the dumbest things I have ever seen and heard put to film this entire year so far. You ready for this?
Oh boy.
Okay, so because so we find out why that the gelato ice cream was giving Ryan Reynolds' character some horrible memories, and it was because the gelato ice cream reminded him of the freak accident that his mother was killed in at a carnival while he was having some ice cream. What was the point of that? You expect me to believe? You expect me to believe that? Are you kidding me? What was going through the writers' heads when they came up with that? No, Meadowland, I'm not kidding. That's in the film because the gelato ice cream reminded him of the freak accident at a carnival where his mother was killed. Not only was it unnecessary, but it served no purpose whatsoever. I would be playing like this right now, but it's just too obvious, and it's just too obvious. But you know what? I'm gonna sum up my feelings towards this. I know I played this joke over and over and over again, but
ah boy, here we go.
You're cheesed off.
You'll see what I'm going with this. You'll see where I'm going with this. Holy shit! I know that joke has been getting. I know I've been repeating this joke over and over and over again, but it's just that's what happens when I see nonsensical and idiotic stuff in films like this. And Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard is definitely one of the worst examples of this. It's not the worst movie I've seen this year. Tom and Jerry is still worse to me, but I can't deny that Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard is easily one of the year's very worst movies. It's idiotic, it's cliched, it's annoying, it's unfunny, and it was just all around an unpleasant experience. I mean, this was the closest I ever came to walking out. Yeah, the closest I ever came to walking out because of how much this movie annoyed me and bored me throughout. 1 out of 10. It's an epic failure. Easily the worst movie I've seen this summer so far, and without a doubt, one of the worst movies I've seen this year so far. I mean, it makes Chaos Walking, The Unholy, and Voyagers, and Spiral, and the other sequel we're going to talk about all look like masterpieces in comparison. It is that bad.
Yeah, I still hated this movie, but to me, Tom and Jerry and music are way worse.
Oh yeah, definitely, especially with Tom and Jerry. It's just absolutely awful. And Angry Joe, take it away. 1 out of 10. Dude, we're not even done with the podcast yet, and I'm already like bored out of. I'm already like exhausted from all that ranting.
Anyways, on to my final movie review. Hey, James Corden, how are you doing? Peter Rabbit 2.
Oh my god.
The first Peter Rabbit from 2018, I thought was actually okay. I mean, it wasn't exactly great per se, but there were some aspects I can appreciate about it, such as the animation, some of the slapstick, and James Corden isn't actually too bad as a titular character. Its younger brother, though, is another story. Unlike the last movie, this sequel's biggest problem is that it panders to the audience to the point that it thinks the kids watching it are brain-dead idiots. With constant exposition, like take a shot every time General Hux blames Peter for something, you'll be dead by the 30-minute mark. Obvious pop culture references, and humor that anyone with a scarecrow's brain would cringe at.
Yeah.
While the animation can be nice at times, this movie makes the first Peter Rabbit look like a masterpiece of cinema by comparison. And just like Hitman's...
really quick, I'm sorry to interrupt, but thanks for watching Metalhead Fan 2004, and hope you have a good night.
All right. Anyways, like I was saying, like with the Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, even if you're the biggest fan of the first movie, avoid the sequel at all costs. 3 out of 10.
Yeah, this movie was just really stupid. This is one of the dumbest movies I've seen this year so far. I wasn't a fan of the first Peter Rabbit movie, but I at least can appreciate for having some charm in it. But here, there's not enough charm in this movie whatsoever. And the voice acting is decent. Rose Byrne is also the only live action actress that gives out a decent performance in the film, and it's a very well shot film, and the visual effects are decent too. But otherwise, this is just a really this is pretty bad. This is a pretty bad movie, and the jokes fall flat. The story's a mess. The script is terrible, and the directing sucks. And all around, it was just not a good movie at all. It was not a good movie, and Peter Rabbit 2 is already on the list for one of the dumbest movies I've seen this year so far. 3 out of 10.
Anyways, that's all we have to say for our current movie reviews. But now I have 3 classic movie reviews before we move on. First up, I want to talk about is the Cloverfield trilogy. As with the first Cloverfield, I think this might be Matt Reeves' weakest film, which, given its track record, isn't really saying much. Despite a brilliant marketing campaign and its found footage style is pretty neat, I found the characters pretty generic and very annoying. Plus, the pacing is a bit slow for an 80-minute movie, so 6 out of 10. You guys want to express your thoughts before I move on?
Well, the shaky camera reminded me of the Blair Witch Project.
That's what it reminded me of too. Since it's in the exact same style.
Yeah. Next is 10 Cloverfield Lane. Now this is where things got going for me. Dan Trachtenberg sucks us into this claustrophobic thriller set mostly within a tight bunker. Mary Elizabeth Winstead gives it her all as the woman trying to escape, but John Goodman truly steals the show. Playing against type as this creepy guy who wants to keep Mary indoors at all times just to be safe from the apparently scary outdoors. So
in
even
my
if
opinion, that is the best of the trilogy.
Yes.
For me. So even if you weren't the biggest fan of the first one, I say check this movie out. 10 out of 10. Now as for the Cloverfield paradox. Like the other movies, its marketing is out of this world. The first we've heard of this movie was during the 2018 Super Bowl, which was like, hey, this movie is premiering on Netflix right after the game, so check this movie out. There's just one problem. Maybe there was a reason this movie was barely advertised. It's got a decent premise, but the characters are just so forgettable and bland. The atmosphere is so boring, and the connections to the previous Cloverfield movies so incredibly forced. Super disappointment, 4 out of 10. Now my next two movie reviews. So my next movie review is my last Blu-ray I want to show you here, and that is Perfect Blue.
Oh, that's a classic.
That was homaged in Requiem for a Dream, particularly Jennifer Connelly's scene.
So I've been hearing about this movie for a while now, with people talking about how great it is, yet kind of fucked up, and how it was like how Christian said, Black Swan before Black Swan ever was. And after seeing this movie, holy crap, this was one hell of a trip. So basically, we follow this pop artist as she tries to transition to the television industry, but slowly loses her mind due to the stresses of being an actress, including seeing a series of murders throughout the set, and feeling like she's being stalked. Ruby Mallow gives it her all as this actress going through the roughest time of her life, and Satoshi Kon directs this in a way that we're just as confused and disoriented as she is from the first few scenes to the ultimate final twist. And ever since I saw this movie a couple weeks ago, I couldn't stop thinking about it and just had to buy the Blu-ray the first chance it went on sale. And personally, I can't decide which is my favorite movie of 1997, this or Good Will Hunting. So whatever you do, stop watching this podcast, go out and see this movie. 10 out of 10.
Nice.
Now, I've seen the best movie for last.
And
you were saying?
And it's probably, I already know what the last movie was for last since I put it in the description. And this is probably one of the most like controversial opinions that like probably like you, me, or anyone else had because of like because you and I share like the same opinion while on this movie while some of the others are like, oh boy.
So we all know the 1970s classic Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, right?
Wait.
The movie that's adored by millions of kids and adults worldwide with its charm, catchy songs, which are still being listened to today, and Gene Wilder's iconic performance. So naturally, when Warner Brothers decided to have another go at it back in 2005, it was not seen super fondly. While the critics praised it and it was a smash at the box office, our current moviegoers were more mixed. There were some people like Josh Scorcher and Mamiya Mementos who admired its vision and more faithfulness to the original World Dog novel. Others thought that it was an overly dark and weird remake of the beloved children's classic. Well, I'm here to tell you that I'm one of those people who not only deem Charlie and the Chocolate Factory an underrated classic, but also on par, if not better, than the original movie. So let's take a gander at why I think so. First of all, remember how I said the word remake? Well, that's because this isn't a remake of Willy Wonka. It's another adaptation that's supposed to be way closer to the book, especially since the original author detested how much the original is almost unrecognizable. That's like saying,
that's what I really liked about this remake.
Yeah, that's like saying that The Dark Knight is a remake of Tim Burton's 1989 Batman. They're two different visions.
Yeah, really.
And as much as I really like the original film, I will say that it does take its liberties from the book, sometimes forgivable, other times detracting from it. This movie is almost page to screen, minus some new scenes and different dialogue, add for context and storytelling purposes. Like, for example, how does Grandpa Joe know so much about Wonka's origins in the beginning? Well, that's because he used to work for Wonka back in the day. But arguably the biggest change is with Willy himself and his backstory, but we'll get to that in a little bit. My second point, this movie is a visual delight. Unlike the original movie that looks pretty good and visually pleasing, but admittedly kind of cheap, Tim Burton just takes us to this otherworldly place. The factory itself is like this vast, colorful wonderland, with each room being different from the last. Just look at the chocolate room, the inventing room, the nut room, the TV room, and everything in between, and tell me it's not a delight to see.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a crime that this movie didn't win the Oscar for production design, let alone get nominated. Plus, the special effects help as well. Contrary to popular belief, most of what you see is on-screen wizardry. They use miniatures for the wide shots outside the factory. They used the combination of animatronics and trained squirrels in the nut room scene, something they probably couldn't have done back in 1971. And hell, they even built most, if not all, of the sets. Even the chocolate room had edible stuff around it. Plus, they actually made a chocolate river look like actual chocolate and not just polluted water. It's polluted, Mr. Wonka. It's chocolate. No, it isn't. The only times that I believe they use CG is in certain shots with the great grass elevator flying around the factory, as well as the fire's illumination, which looks more like she's actually blowing up into a huge blueberry and not just a small inflatable suit like in the original movie. And just to answer next questions, I haven't seen any of the Saw movies. I'll probably only see the original one since that's the only one that's I hear it's pretty good. Honestly, they should have just ended with part 3, since that was where the Jigsaw Killer died. But no, Lionsgate was like, no, let's make more sequels. They're so cheap to make, and they made so much money.
Yeah, really.
Milk it for as long as you can.
Oh, and I gotta talk about Spiral real quick since I saw the movie and I know you didn't, but Spiral was just a mess for me. There are some good performances, especially from Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson, and it's a nicely shot film, and the traps are pretty cool. But overall, it was just a mediocre. It was just not a good movie to me. 3 out of 10, and also the bootleg, the voice of the bootleg. What the hell was that? Hello there, and surname here. I would like to play a game. It sounds like a freaking robot, freaking cartoon robot.
I mean, what's next? Is the next movie gonna sound like Gurr from Invader Zim?
Yeah, really.
Granted, it would be much more entertaining than Spiral, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, really.
But anyways, like I was saying about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the music is a banger. The songs in the original are classics on its own, especially Pure Imagination, which itself was snubbed at the Oscars. It should have won the Oscar. But what Danny Elfman does is a bit creative. He takes lyrics directly from the book, while also giving them distinct styles, from mambo to disco to psychedelic to hard rock.
Yep.
Finally, I want to take a look at the characters. For instance, the Oompa Loompas look more like actual tribal people and less like Technicolor aliens. Plus, we actually get to see Willie interact with Loompa Land, unlike the original where he just tells how he got to meet them, where we have to just assume he didn't just capture or enslave them or something. If you watch Robot Chicken, then you know what I'm getting at.
Oh, God, yeah.
And some of the characters actually get more development than the Wonka counterparts. Unlike Charlie's original grandparents, who are just there in the background, except Grandpa Joe, who's a key player. Each one has their own personality, especially Grandpa George, who is basically the jerk with a heart of gold, and Grandma Georgina, who's, well, I like grapes, dragonflies. Now let's take a look at the antagonistic ticket winners. Augustus is still as gluttonous as the original, but it's also greedy in his ways. Veronica is more subtle and uses her cuteness and charm to get what she wants. Mike, unlike the original where he's obsessed with pop culture and kind of a smart mouth, this version of Mike is basically shaped by pop culture, turning him into this violent-minded, destructive, rebellious, almost anarchic young boy who grew up too fast. But perhaps the most developed is Violet. Unlike the original movie, who she's kind of a rogue gum enthusiast, she's competitive and always obsessed with always winning, always thinking about herself. So let's talk about the two most divisive aspects of this movie, shall we? Charlie Bucket and Wonka himself. In terms of Charlie, played by Freddie Highmore, people hate this version due to him being the equivalent of a Mary Sue, always perfect and never thinking of himself, which, first of all, he does think of himself sometimes. Just look at the scene in the first act where he finds money on the street and uses it to buy candy instead of just saving it for his drunken family. Also in the ending where he initially rejects Wonka's offer to take him from his family and spend the rest of his life as his apprentice of sorts, you can tell in his face that he wants to go with Wonka, but needs to stay with his family no matter what. Second, I will admit that he is a bit more flawed and slightly better in the original, where sometimes he does act kind of jealous. But at the same time, there do exist kids that are selfless and think of those less fortunate. The moment that most sticks to me is when he initially wants to sell his golden ticket for money for his family. It's not until Grandpa George makes him realize that finding the ticket just made him the luckiest kid in the world. Especially when there's only 5 golden tickets in the world, yet there's plenty of money out there.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about Willy Wonka himself, played by Johnny Depp. And I will say this. Yes, he's no Gene Wilder. No one can ever beat Gene Wilder.
Oh, no.
But at the same time, he's not supposed to be.
Right.
The original Gene Wilder is seemingly charming and friendly at first, but you can tell that he has kind of a dark edge inside him. Johnny Depp here portrays him as this kid in an adult's body who's visibly impressed by his creations, but really distant from those around him. This has obviously put people off, but I defend this portrayal by saying this. First off, he's had a difficult childhood with his creepy dentist father, played by the late great Christopher Lee. Second, you're looking at a guy who, initially going into bankruptcy and letting his employees go, hasn't had any interaction with the outside world or with other people outside his Oompa Loompa workers who don't really talk that much. So naturally, his characterization makes sense. And
Right.
just to answer your question, Network 98, I don't really know who this guy is.
I have he's a reviewer and I have seen a few of his videos before, and they're at least in my opinion they're not that, like, I'm not really a fan of his content. I don't think he's a bad person at all. He's not a bad person at all. I mean, I just don't like his content.
Anyways, in terms of what I said about Wonka's characterization, it also ties with Charlie's final test at the end of the movie. Now, the first movie's test is that Charlie was the only one who's trustworthy enough to keep Slugworth from getting the everlasting Gobstopper. Thus, Wonka trusts him for keeping his secrets. This one's a bit more complicated. As stated before, Wonka doesn't look at the concept of family too fondly, so he thinks that Charlie would be happy if he just left his parents to be his successor. Charlie only agrees to inherit the factory if Willie first reconciles with his father, which he does in a really touching scene that touched Willie that his father had been following his son through newspaper clippings, thus making him realize that family is more important than he came to realize. So overall, those are pretty much the reasons why I love this movie so much, and I hold this dear to my heart as much as the original film. It's one of my favorite movies, and to me, it's the third best movie of 2005, behind Batman Begins and Brokeback Mountain. So overall, it gets a 10 out of 10 from me.
And I love that movie too, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Oh, and speaking of Brokeback Mountain, that should have won Best Picture over Crash.
Plus, if you really want to see a remake of Willy Wonka, that completely... You were saying?
What?
My dad was talking.
Oh.
And like I was saying, if you really want to see a remake of Willy Wonka that completely misses the point of the original, watch a Tom and Jerry crossover, enough said.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, especially with the creepy smiles.
Yeah.
Uncanny Valley!
It is Uncanny Valley.
And like Nicholas Lee or something, yeah, Grace Randolph is pretty bad. She's pretty much the Lily Orchard of film enthusiasts.
Yeah, really. The Lily Orchard and Miss Anthroponi of film enthusiasts.
Yeah. So that's it for all of my movie reviews. Now let's get to some discussion, shall we? First off, it's my top 20 favorite movies of 2016. Since last few episodes, I did 2019, 2018, and 2016. So, as always, before my top 20 list, there are always a quick honorable mentions. And they are Storks, Rogue One: A Star Wars Story, X-Men Apocalypse, The BFG, The Jungle Book, The Nice Guys, The V-Vets, The Lion, Hardcore Henry, Deepwater Horizon, Silence, Jackie, Loving, Popstar Never Stop Never Stopping, 10 Cloverfield Lane, and the one that almost made it, War Dogs.
All right. Well, I'll be joining in with Soren on the best films of 2016 list. I do have some honorable mentions as well. Let me pull this up really quick. Okay. So my honorable mentions are 10 Cloverfield Lane, The Conjuring 2, Popstar Never Stop Never Stopping, Deepwater Horizon, Don't Breathe, The Hollers, my most underrated film of 2016, Pedro Almodovar's Julieta, Nocturnal Animals, The Swiss Army Man, The Lobster, Hail Caesar, The Edge of 17, Deadpool, Captain America: Civil War, Sausage Party. Sorry, Soren.
My lips are sealed with that movie.
The Nice Guys, Lion, Moana, and the one that came there were two that came very close to being on the list. Oh wait, I actually had five more. The documentary film The Eagle Huntress, Florence Foster Jenkins, Hidden Figures, the Jungle Book remake, and I'm sorry if this is taking long, guys. It's been a while since I've done lists like this. Patterson, directed by Jim Yasmak. I didn't say. Oh, Jim Jarmusch. I'm sorry, Jim Jarmusch, and The Witch.
Anyways, on to my top 20 list. Number 20 is one of the weirdest movies I've ever seen, The Lobster. Number 19 is the Best Picture winner, Moonlight. Number 18, Hail Caesar. Number 17, Train to Busan. Number 16, The Edge of 17. Number 15, Moana. Number 14, Patriots Day. Number 13, Sing Street. Number 12, Nocturnal Animals. Number 11 is Paul Verhoeven's Elle. Number 10, Manchester by the Sea. Number 9, Hell or High Water. Number 8, Your Name. Number 7, Arrival. Number 6, Kubo and the Two Strings. Number 5, A Monster Calls. Number 4, Hacksaw Ridge. Number 3, La La Land. Number 2, Captain America Civil War. And number 1, I know this movie is pretty much hated, but I love it. Batman vs. Superman Ultimate Edition.
Nice. Actually, my last honorable mention is 20th Century Woman. I'm sorry. Patterson is actually in my top 20. So let's just cut to the chase with my top 20. Number 20, Richard Linklater's Everybody Wants Some. Number 19, Clint Eastwood's Sully. Number 18 is great. I'm forgetting again. Number 18 is Kubo and the Two Strings. Number 17, Whit Stillman's Love and Friendship. Number 16 is oh no, never mind. Never mind, folks. Number 16 is actually 20th Century Women. I'm sorry. Number 15 is Fences. Number 14 is you know what? I'm sorry.
You could just look at your letterbox list.
That's what I'm doing. It's just there were some movies that I wish would have been taken off would have been taken off the list. I'm sorry if this is taking long, folks. It's just been a while since I've done this. No, I have not played Superman 64 on Nicholas Lee, although I will never ever play it. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention Maggie's Plan was also one of my honorable mentions as well. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry about that, folks. Let me just try one last time with the. Sorry about that. All right. So let me just try again with my top 20. Number 20, Richard Linklater's Everybody Wants Some. Number 19, Clint Eastwood's Sully. Number 18, 20th Century Women. Number 17, Whit Stillman's Love and Friendship. Number 16, Kubo and the Two Strings. Number 15, Fences. Number 14, my favorite anime film of the year, Zootopia. Number 13, Patterson. Number 12, A Monster Calls. Oh no, wait, 20th Century Woman was one of my honorable mentions. I'm sorry. Sorry. Number 12 is Captain Fantastic. Number 11, Hacksaw Ridge. Number 10, Sing Street. Number 9, Loving. Number 8, Paul Verhoeven's L. Number 7, Arrival. Number 6, Jackie. Number 5, Hell or High Water. Number 4, Martin Scorsese's Silence. Oh, no, wait, hold on. Number 7 is Arrival. Number 6 is Martin Scorsese's Silence. Number 5 is Hell or High Water. Number 4 is Jackie. Number 3, Manchester by the Sea. Number 2, La La Land. And my favorite film of 2016 and the Academy Award-winning film for Best Picture, Moonlight.
We're not even going to make any Oscar jokes here.
No.
Anyways, on to our final topic of today. So, My Little Pony Season 2, I thought was a pretty mediocre season. I mean, there were some great episodes, but there were some pretty bad and pretty average episodes. So, let's go over them, shall we? First off, for the bad episodes. Number 26.
You and I have the same worst.
Ponyville Confidential.
Fuck this episode, man.
Number 25, Dragon Quest. Number 24, The Mysterious Mare Duel.
Oh my god, that episode.
Number 23, Camelot Wedding Part 1.
I didn't think it was all that bad, but your opinion, man.
As for the average episodes, number 22 is the Harpswarming Eve. Number 21 is probably the most forgettable one, Sweet and Elite.
I wasn't a fan of that one either.
Number 20, Secret of My Excess. Number 19, May the Best Pet Win. Number 18, The Cutie Pox. Number 17 is probably the most controversial episode of all, Putting Your Hoof Down.
I did not like Putting Your Hoof Down either. It was one of my least favorite episodes of the show, and honestly, I would go as far as to say it's my third least favorite episode of season 2, just behind The Mysterious Mirror Duel, and of course the worst one being Ponyville Confidential.
Number 16 is The Last Roundup. As for the good episodes, number 15 is Sisterhood Social. Number 14 is Baby Cakes. Number 13, Super Speedy Cider Squeeze 6000. Number 12, Lesson 0. Number 11, Mystery on the Friendship Express. Number 10, Family Appreciation Day. Number 9, Lunar Eclipse. Number 8, Return of Harmony Part 2. Number 7 is About Time. And as for the top 6 great episodes, number 6 is Read and Weep, Every Brony's Origin Story. Number 5 is Hearts and Hooves Day. Number 4, Return of Harmony Part 1. Number 3, Hurricane Fluttershy. Number 2, A Friend Indeed. And number 1, Camelot Wedding Part 2.
Nice. So as for my favorite season 2 my least favorite season 2 episode is easily Ponyville Confidential, one of the worst episodes I've ever seen. With one of the most controversial episodes, The Mysterious Mirror Duel, and Putting Your Hoof Down being my runner-ups. And then my favorite episode has to be, well, I got the same favorite as Soren, A Camelot Wedding Part 2.
Yeah, this is really a step up after the mediocre first part. I mean, it wasn't horrible per se, but it was a bit underwhelming and repetitive.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's it. Well, that's all we have to do for this episode. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope to see you all in the next episode.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thank you guys very much for watching this episode. I do apologize again that I dragged some parts with my best films of 2016 list. It's been a while since I've done this. And that's why I dragged out some parts, and I do apologize again. Hopefully, when we do the best films of 2015 on our next show, hopefully it'll be all organized. I just wasn't ready for this. That's why it dragged out a little bit. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and thank you to Soren and Christian for joining me once again on this podcast. And as always, be sure to subscribe to Soren and Christian on their YouTube channels. The link is in the description below. Give them the love they absolutely deserve. Because they're such great friends, and they are very talented people. And before we go, I know I promised that I do my best and worst films of this year so far, but I'm gonna have to save it for like the next podcast because there are still some films I still need to see in order to make that list. But so that'll just be saved for like next time. But until then, hope you guys have a great weekend. And until we meet again for episode 18, have a great weekend. Stay safe and take care of yourself. See you next time.